my goodness.
What's
Oh,
up,
that's a great way to
everybody?
start.
Needs you yawning, me coughing. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to iOne Entertainment. We are here with the one, the only Sam D. Just made it to episode 2, where none of us are shocked. Do you want to spitball what's on your mind, and I can follow up with some questions?
Um, Honestly, there are too many things on my mind that I don't know where to start. So let's start with some questions.
Okay, let's go like in sequence and try to work our way through this episode. Okay. So we leave off with Gigi getting voted out. What was your reaction? What was your tribe's reaction?
Yeah, so we had kind of, once we saw that Amethyst lost, we like look at the scores and figured, well, if we're voting based on that, either like Gigi getting a score of 0, either like didn't show up, maybe, but like seems unlikely, or just did really poorly. So that, it was obviously you don't know that, if we have zero clue what the tribe dynamic is and if that's even something they would take into consideration for their vote. But all that being said, we had definitely thought could be one of the outcomes, and so we weren't shocked when ultimately that's what happened.
Then we post some tree mail, and you're really good at like reading the tree mail, going back to past seasons and seeing possibly what it could be to just give your tribe, whatever edge, whatever advantage that you possibly can, which I think is genius. Talk to me about planning for the challenge. Like, was there rhyme or reason that went into who was working with who, or was it mainly schedules? And what did you think of the challenge? And what did you think of when the challenge was over and Emily was allowed to share?
Yeah, so when it came to like picking, Emily really just kind of like took charge of like coordinating with our schedules and like who's like available with who, kind of thing. So like Emily took the lead, but it was still kind of like a group effort. And I had messaged Brandon, just like in our one-on-one, saying like, I really just want to say like, please pair me with Brandon, because I don't know, I feel like Brandon is such like an effective communicator, and sometimes under pressure, I don't always have. Sometimes I'll just crumble under pressure. So like, depending what the pressure might have been, I know that like Brandon would have like taken their time with me and like would have been good. Not to say like anybody else would have done poorly with that, but I just had been on more calls with Brandon. So like, I don't know, like I felt like we would have worked well together. But like that piece aside, I wasn't really too worried about it. And I didn't want to make any like, I didn't want to say anything like that in our tribe chat. So when I got ultimately paired with Bill was because our schedules lined up the best. And we did actually end up working really well together. And what was really interesting about this challenge, so we were all wrong, like it wasn't a puzzle per se. We weren't putting a puzzle together or anything blindfolded. But we did, all of us minus Bill, just because Bill was out of town when the day the game like kicked off. We actually played a game where we had to draw stuff. None of us were blindfolded, mind you, but just based off of a random phrase that somebody said. It was kind of like a game of like telephone, but like drawing. And so somebody would draw what like to depict the phrase, and then the next person would get the picture. And based off of that picture, they had to guess what they think the phrase is, or what, I don't know, so on and so forth. We basically did this, but not blindfolded. So I thought it was really, really funny that like the one random game we decided to play on night 1, we kind of like practiced sort of inadvertently. And just to answer like the last part of your question, I was expecting to I was like, okay, I think we got 3 points. Like, I trust that Emily is like good at like deciphering, reading between the lines or the chicken scratch, whatever you want to call whatever those drawings were. But like for her to get all 5 of mine and Bill's and all 5 of Brandon and Izzy's, like complete and utter shock. But like it was just really, really exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, I know that you like to perform well in challenges, right? Um, and so when you and Bill were going, and I just had to keep on looking at your face. I'm like, oh my God, is Sam like Sam freaking out inside? Because like, yeah, 3 of 5, maybe. I don't think even I would have gotten 3 of 5. I might maybe would have gotten two, like, um, but I was like worried. I was kind of worried. So I was like super shocked when those were able to be deciphered. Does that and you also did comment in your journal, or maybe it was publicly, about or in a one-on-one chat about Emily's process that she took to figure out what each one was. Does that put Emily on your radar at all as like an out of the box thinker?
Absolutely. But for me personally, that's amazing. That's a great thing. So just to elaborate on this for anyone listening who may not know what Emily did, she had a pen and a paper and was kind of drawing the shapes that like she was seeing and then redrawing them like slightly differently until like if something made absolutely no sense, it was like, oh, maybe this is what it is. And like basically used every resource at our disposal, whether that was like the board just for like inspiration on maybe if it was something themed from the season. And like that is what I do. Because sometimes I'm not good under pressure. So like under pressure, if I have at least all these resources, I give myself the best chance possible. And I'm like, hell yeah. So I thought it was brilliant. And we mean Emily did talk a little bit about it afterwards, like if we do come to like a swap situation or something where um I don't know, something where somebody else or a different tribe could take a shot at her, she is worried because of that, of like, two really good challenge performances in a row and this one like really just falling on her at the end anyways. So two things is great as to have as an ally and all like and a tribe mate. And also that's a target on somebody who's not me. So like, yes, two thumbs up.
Yeah, so potential meat shield a la circa Sandy Ascendants 10.
Yeah.
um, how are you feeling? Obviously 10 and 10. You don't know if the other tribes got 10 out of 10, and now we're banking on a tiebreaker. But has this strategy session, the lights out portion of the game for this episode, been like the first one, or is there a little bit more of a sense of comfort knowing that y'all got a perfect score?
Um, there is definitely a sense of comfort, but I will never I'm not going to underestimate the other tribes either. You know, we're like we're all pretty like crafty, resourceful. This is a stacked cast. So I have not had any discussions with anybody in terms of like if we were to go, because I think everyone else is feeling really good about it. If there have been talks, I'm not privy to them, but at this point, I don't really think so. So what I've really been focusing on is just strengthening like my one-on-one relationships with everybody so that if it does come to a point where we for some reason need to make a last minute decision, I think right now I add value to everyone's like personal game, as well as like adding value to like the tribe. So like I'm setting myself up not in a way that like, okay, this is where the target could go, but more in that like it's more than likely not going to come my way. And I'll be in on the talks if they need to happen in like those 20 minutes.
Got it. Um, how are you feeling about your overall position?
You say, how am I feeling about my current position?
Yeah.
Uh, okay. So I'm feeling okay with it. I think I need to be mindful. Um, about my threat level, I guess. I think where I'm going to get into trouble is if people start comparing notes. A lot of the times the way I approach my relationships is that, I don't know, I find like I try to talk to my allies or like in a way that, like, what am I trying to say? I try to treat everybody like a close ally, I guess. And so, not keeping information too close to the chest, just trying to talk openly and like not skirt around stuff, or just, just talk to somebody like you trust them. And, I'm not revealing everything to everyone, but I am trying to make people feel like I trust them with just talking openly about game. And in my experience, that works to a certain extent, because if somebody feels like you trust them, they don't necessarily want to break that trust, at least not right away. And then they're not going to like go and talk to other people about my conversations with them, or, so that's kind of how I'm approaching it for now. And I know that's not going to like necessarily work long term. The fact that we are doing really well as a tribe, I think is also like helping me in that regard for how I'm like currently playing. But there are other people on other tribes who kind of like, who like I've either played with before or like know of me. So what I'm really focusing on now is like those one-on-one relationships within my tribe, so that, if we get separated or whatever, I know the conversation is going to come up. Oh, Sam's a big threat, or Sam's plays a really good social game. Whatever the case may be, that those relationships that I'm like really fostering now will kind of help me when that situation like arises. And that like I do still have people willing to like rally around me, because like I've shown myself to be like a good ally and an asset to them, regardless of what other people might say. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the divine power machine and
Mm,
the fortune teller. I don't know if we touched on this in your last confessional.
yeah.
So
So
yeah, express yourself on these two topics, meaning like Emily went twice. Does that make you feel any type of way at all? And then obviously the Divine Power Machine, we know that you were finding cards and getting feedback from production, and then
yeah, still mad, by the way. So
I know, sorry if I like rehashed it when you if you didn't think about it today, you didn't get annoyed. Now you are.
yeah, no, honestly, still thinking about it. Because I check it like 3 times a day to see if it's open again. So every time I look at it, I get mad. So I remember preseason, I found the board, but obviously it was in maintenance mode. And so I kind of like, when I think Rocky had announced that like, okay, the board will be like open soon, or we'll be sharing the link soon. I like went to it immediately and saw that it was open. I was like, sweet. And of course I see right away there's a 3 of swords or 3 of something, whatever. So I take a picture of it, send it in my prop chat. And then commences the like night 1 call. Our tribe got on call, and I can't really multitask, and I wanted to be present. And so like I did kind of try to look a little bit like as we were just like chit-chatting, getting to know each other. But it wasn't until like later into the night that like I kind of started finding more cards. I only had the last one, the one of whatever, to find. And I tried, and I looked and I looked and I looked, and eventually like, okay, I just need to go to bed because I'm so tired. And yeah, so it was, I saw that whatever it is, whatever this divine power machine thing is, was closed. I see a post that it's closed with all 4 cards in the machine with a key in it. And I see that post like 2 hours after it was posted. And I was like, damn it, like, ugh. And while this is, so when I see that it's been claimed, here's where I kind of start talking about what I found with, you know, different people. I forget like who I even talked to about it first, but in a way, it was kind of like one of those things like, here, let me throw you a bone. That's literally nothing though, because like I already know that it's closed and there's nothing there, but like, here's information. Like, but you know, anyway, so I think it was Juan that I had a conversation with it about like first, and it took like 5 minutes to find the one, because now like we're both looking, and yeah, he finds it like pretty quickly in the links like down at the bottom to the previous season's boards. I was so mad. So from there on out, I kind of like just said, hey, did you notice those cards? I don't know what that's all about. And yeah, so I'm pretty convinced if somebody on my tribe on Perla has it, like, well done on like just keeping a poker face and being surprised when like, well, acting surprised, like when, you know, hearing that, oh, there's like these card things everywhere. So I don't think that we have it. I did look on the board to see who was like online around the time that the machine closed, and Maddie and John and Sheed, I think, were the three people online like in that time frame. So I'm not going to put too much stock into that just because they were online at that time, but you know, just something to kind of keep in the back of my head that maybe those are the people that might have something. And then when it comes to the fortune teller, talking about the divine power machine with Emily, I think really kind of like kickstarted like our like working relationship, and established some trust. And so Emily did, and I mean, Emily's been sharing with everybody like who's been to like every who from each tribe has gone to like each trip to the fortune teller. So like I know like she's not just telling me that, but she did. One thing I don't think she's told anybody else is that on the first trip, John got, well, allegedly, John got a power that is he gets to spectate another tribe at tribal council, but like to do so anonymously, which is cute. And Emily said that each time she's gone, she just got a card that said nothing, but is trying to do some like cross-tribal communication potentially. We have gotten some information that way that apparently Sheed and Tim, I think, are the two who have not, they said they have not gone on a single call yet, which I find hard to believe, but I guess like, I don't know, very interesting, right? So we're kind of using that knowledge to our advantage should we ever have an opportunity with anybody on their tribe, as opposed to the blue Zafiro, I think is the one that Thomas is on, that like that was not like the feedback that she'd received from that tribe. So it kind of just tells us the other two tribes may be less connected, and there might be more cracks to infiltrate there if the opportunity arises. Yeah, so it's kind of nothing really has come of it, but just like little pieces of info and nuggets of stuff that like may become useful or relevant in the future.
I love it. Love hearing your inner thoughts.
There's a lot of them.
I'm trying to think. I think we touched on, yeah, because we got to how you're feeling about this vote if there was one, and then we circled back around to the powers. So I think I'm good on questions. Is there anything that's been, you know, on your mind that you've been wanting to get out?
I guess I'll just kind of briefly touch on everyone in the alliance in the tribe.
Sure.
So just kind of like where my relationships are at right now. I think
Mhm.
I'm gonna put Juan at number one, because I don't know, we just click, and I think there's a small okay, so Juan, Brandon, and Emily are like they're really close here. So like I know I'm gonna like rank them, but like it's like a negligible difference, but I'll explain like I guess the small reasons why. Um so I looked up, I know Brandon had played Duplicity, and I was on a pro team with Gwen, and Gwen just like loves them so much and just like talk them up so much. Anyway, so I went and looked at like past at like the game charts for like Duplicity, and Brandon's Edgic CPM3, CP4, 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 CPP2, C anyways, you get the idea. And then looking at past game of, I sound like a psycho, oh my god. Past game of Juan's. Okay, I can't find it right now, but I remember Juan was like middle of the road, all the way through. But this wasn't a Survivor game; it was a Big Brother game. But besides the point, like, so I just think that I just put Juan over Brandon because like if I'm just thinking long term of who do I want to ride this thing out with, I would rather sit next to Juan than Brandon. So like that's all. The main difference between those two, but we are in an alliance called the BJs. Juan the other day was like, I really like BJs.
Wow.
It was just so like matter of fact, and I was just like, yeah, me too, but like it just I giggle every time. And then I put Emily below them, although I don't know, they're kind of like all, whatever, but I do agree with Emily when she says that she might be a target. And so just because of maybe longevity, long-term potential. And then I'm going to put Bill in next, and where I'm at with Bill, I really trust Bill. I think Bill doesn't come online very often, and me as a paranoid crackhead in a game, I just need to remember that I just need to trust in what I'm like hearing from Bill, that Bill's not really like talking to a ton of people, not talking to me a ton, but I think that's like everyone's experience. So we need to like test the theory, but I have a feeling that if we come to a point where Bill says he's going to do something and then follows through and does it, that's going to just be like all the confirmation I need in a way to be like, Bill will be good for his word. And, probably won't be scheming because he's not aligned to do the scheming. So like, that's just like a solid number. And so there's Bill. And then Izzy in last place, we only because like maybe like lack of experience, and that I'm not going to equate that to like not being able to do well, but just doesn't have that like bit of an edge like over everyone else in that sense to like kind of bump up in my like ally rankings, I guess. But I love Izzy, and yeah, I think she's great. So
You have a great
my
tribe.
closing thoughts on my tribe.
Oh yeah, no, I love Perla. Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you for letting us enter the confessions of Sam. I may or may not be seeing you in just under an hour, but
Yep.
results will come before then. If you are safe, just keep an eye out for Tree Mill post tribal council.